Welcome to a special episode of Foresight TV. And I decided to start us out with a couple of bad jokes about dads or something. Did I get that right? I'm here with Brett Landrum. We are going to talk a little bit about staffing and what he is going to be talking about at Senior Living Innovation Forum next week in Napa. But he's also well known in his company in the state of Minnesota for bad dad jokes. And so you get the opportunity to do
two. All right. I don't know if well known or notorious is the better term. How do lawyers say goodbye?
With a handshake.
We'll be suing you.
Suing
you. That one's a little bit harder. How does it? What's another good one here? What do you call an illegally parked frog?
I have no idea.
Toad. Took me a while to reading that one to get it.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it a lot. So I'm just coming back from the ACA conference and in Denver, and it was great. Some really great conversations. One of the things that, and I started to create a video about it. I actually did a first draft, and I didn't like it very much. I'm going to come back to it. But one of the things that seems to sort of percolate to the surface is that senior living, and I think it's not just only senior living, but it feels like people just don't trust their employees very much. And in my view, when you don't trust your employees, you kind of get what you expect out of them. And I know that what you do at Procare HR is really all about empowering employees and helping owners and operators do that. And so I'd actually like to just love to hear a little bit from you about kind of how you see this whole employer-employee relationship. And I know that's one of the things you're going to be talking about in Napa this coming week.
Yeah. It's interesting I think you can look generationally and see how different, kind of how the employee-employer dynamic has, changed over the years. And, I feel like right now there's still some like lingering sentiment amongst employers and I have this conversation with folks on our team quite a bit where there's this like, I think a lot of employers expect like loyalty almost to the degree of fealty from all their employees, but I don't know that it's like always reciprocated. And in fact, now, one, because the employment dynamic is particularly in senior care, but, I think broadly is, demanding a different, situation and environment. But I also I think really you're starting to see that dynamic shift where, the really fantastic businesses can attract really great talent because it's the opposite. It's like, hey, it's us as the employer's job to go find great talent and look out for them. And, we should have the fealty to them, not the other way around. Somebody said something the other day, which is really interesting. I'm sure I'll butcher it, but really that like companies are just people and ideas. I don't know if that was you, Steve. Somebody said that to me, and it stuck out to me that it's like that's the business. And so this idea that our employees, hey, we want them to be excited about what we're doing. We want them to understand the vision. We want them to be bought into and be excited about what they're doing every day. But and hopefully that drives some loyalty to the employer. But that's not, that's something that's earned, not deserved. And part of the way I think employers can earn that is by really looking out for taking care of their employees, and frankly, like dispelling with this thesis or kind of position that like our employees owe us some sort of fealty. Like that's bullshit. They don't. Like we, they're bringing their ideas and energy and effort and passion to us, and so it should be us looking out for how do we support, nurture, and take care of them.
Yeah, and this is so important to me. So when I was I was talking to you, and I think it's okay for me to say this. I was getting a little nervous that I know you're looking for some additional salespeople, and I made a referral to you, and that particular person sent me a message saying, "Oh man, this looks like it's really really exciting." But when I first reached out and said, are you open to a new position?" The first thing that this person said to me, in fact, I had this happen twice this week, because I had somebody for a different position that was looking that wouldn't have been appropriate for you. And in both cases, they immediately came back and said, "So would it be working for you?" And I was really humbled and flattered by that, because in both cases, what they were really saying is, "Man, I'd love to come to work for you because I work really, really hard at taking care of my people." As Jada, who's in the background, can attest, I'm not always perfect at it, but I really care, because as you talked about, my most valuable asset is my team, and I love them like crazy. So I want to actually talk a little bit about what you do. So you're an employee PEO, and a lot of people are going to know what that is, but let's actually just start and make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah. So Procare, we're a HR services firm. Our core business is a PEO, professional employer organization. Really the industry's been around for a long time. It's really accelerated and matured a lot over the last 10 years because of regulatory environment, technology, I think a general adoption, acceptance across kind of wide swaths of the business community for outsourcing. And so you've really seen over the last 10 years, like I said, the industry has accelerated and kind of matured. There's still, when you look across all businesses, I think depending on the state, it's typically single, maybe like low double digits of market penetration into, small, mid-size, and even smaller and enterprise businesses. And really the thesis is, or maybe the underlying principles is really like today you have a mix of an in-house team doing a variety of HR tasks and functions. You've got 20 different vendors that you're buying from, that are providing services and products and things like that to deal with all your employment functions. So PEOs, HR outsourcing firms generally, but then PEOs specifically, is a way to really consolidate that, get some aggregated buying power, get some efficiency, some, hopefully with most PEOs, you should be getting, fractional use of subject matter experts in a lot of different areas that most organizations aren't going to be able to attract or afford in-house, and really kind of providing, a comprehensive HR model to, various organizations of different sizes, industries, et cetera.
So one of the things is as we've been working together, I've been having some conversations with senior living executives and asking them whether they're using PEOs or what they're doing now. And this is sort of a hard question to ask, right? I hope I don't insult you too much with it, but mostly when I talk to people and who have used PEOs in the past, they just tell me how much they hate them.
Mm.
And so, what makes you different?
Yeah, I would actually make that further, like take that a little bit further and say, like, you could pull 100 senior care organizations and say, hey, are you happy with your PEO? Are you happy with your payroll provider, your HR, your HR system, et cetera? And I would say most people would tell you, no, we're not, and at all. And my position on the PEO industry is I think it's a really cool concept, and I think a lot of operators really like the idea of it. I mean, you used to think about it this way. It's like, so you're telling me that I can save money on benefits, workers' compensation, and retirement plans. I can shift some of the employment liability associated with those products and general employment practices over to another entity rather than retaining it all in-house. I can get access to subject matter experts that I don't have in my own organization, best in class systems, one stop shop, and I've got scalability. If I want to go open 10 buildings, it's not my job to help figure out how do I redesign my whole HR function, or how do I need to now figure out how to deliver HR in a different state or geography that has different regs. I can just go to my HR partner, call them, and guess what? It's their job to staff it, figure it out, and kind of help me and enable my growth efforts. Like that's a really compelling value prop to a lot of operators and entrepreneurs. The industry as a whole, like, kind of sucks. Like they just like the HR space doesn't, or the HR tech space is notorious for building really great products and completely botching implementations and ongoing service. And so then people get in these doom loops where like they can't ever get the system right, and they're spending a bunch of energy and money trying to just get a system to do the basic functions, never actually get to like really get depth or kind of width out of how they're using the systems. And then from a PEO perspective, like POs, like the whole industry is plagued by mediocrity. Like everybody, like the industry, because you're a one-stop shop and pulling all this stuff together, it's hard to leave once you get in. And so a lot of these organizations put a ton of money and effort into sales and marketing. They get people in and they say, you know what, we can deliver a really mediocre service model. Sometimes it's, bad to mediocre or terrible to mediocre. And people just won't leave because even though we do an okay job to bad, like it's good enough that it's not worth the disruption or pain of change. And it's really sad because the industry has the ability to like really deliver fantastic results for businesses if we could get our shit together and like across the board really focus on service excellence, consistency, and it like really not just like big fluffy words like innovation, but like how do we really specialize in industries where we can be a subject matter expert, not just in HR, but in the industry that we're serving, and develop other value added solutions that help our help our client base do the people thing better. Which obviously for senior care means usually if we do the people thing better, our quality of care goes up, our resident satisfaction goes up, our financial results are better. Like everything's better off if we can do the people and the HR function more effectively.
Yeah, and so I really love this a lot. So one of the things that I hear from leaders is that they're really, really sold out on trying to make great culture, workplace culture. And where they really struggle is getting it to percolate down. So you've got this great corporate culture that happens, and the leaders really care. I mean, they really want it to be better. It's not just words. They're trying to figure it out. And then they go around and they start talking. They get into these conversations with their frontline employees, and they tell this horror story of how their supervisor just treated them like crap. Can I say that? I guess I did. It's too late now, right? And how do you help with that?
Yeah. At the risk of tangenting for too long here, when you think about HR and culture, there's a lot of different dimensions that you have to get right as an employer or a senior care operator to, we're to really make sure culture is an outcome of all the things that we're doing. Sometimes people say like, we're going to create good culture. It's like, or like they think of culture as an input versus an output. Like, hey, if we can like infuse good culture, we're going to have really good business results. It's like, no. You like do the right stuff, and then culture is the output. And so as an example, like related to our business, like the most basic thing, get payroll right, like get benefits correct, answer employee questions timely. Like if you can't do that, it's really hard to build trust for those frontline leaders, for the corporation. Like if paychecks are off, like that's the basics, and that should be the table stakes. But like we have to do that stuff really well because these folks are doing a really hard job. And And so like they don't want to be worried about are my hours right, or is my PTO correct, or is my employer trying to mess with me on benefits or whatever it is. And those are the feelings they get when things aren't done correctly. So like we have to, and it's like that's something I think we bring is the confidence and the execution and some of those really basic areas that are critical to like retaining employees and driving good trust. So that's like kind of level number one. Then I think you kind of next layer is really working on good systems and practices with HR and your people and operations. So how do we get some consistency and really good practices for how we do employee encouragement or discipline, policies, things of that nature, which again is kind of part of what we do. And then the areas that actually I don't think we do as well yet, that we're looking at how do we do it better, is I really think that culture, and this isn't 100% HR, there's some business ops to it, but I really think business systems are like critically important to driving great culture. So like, and when I talk about business systems, it's like, hey, how do we do team building like across all of our teams, all of our locations? Like what's our process to drive like really fantastic teams and teamwork? And like that should be systematized. Like, and by the way, like all this stuff, you don't have to recreate the wheels. Like we use 5 dysfunctions of a team. And it's like, hey, like that's a really effective tool for driving good inter team dynamics and clarity on what's expected and common language. Or how do we measure our leaders or our frontline folks like consistently across all of our different locations? Like those little practices, like drive really good, like ultimately allow you to get to that good culture. How do we collect feedback, and like doing that consistently across a big organization is really, really tough. And it takes a lot of rigor and discipline to do that and do it consistently and maintain the integrity of it when you get into the day to day and it becomes monotonous. Like everybody likes the idea of deploying these really big, sexy systems and tools. Like, oh, it'll change the game. But then it's like, well, but then we have to execute to it every day and be disciplined of continuing to do these really great business practices in order to drive that really good culture.
Yeah, and so it's really hard because so many of those things that you need to do to have a really great culture and those things is the discrete parts of them are actually pretty boring, mundane things to do, right? And so if you can offload a bunch of that to Brett and his organization, that means you have more time and energy to actually go out and do the fun stuff and the stuff that's interesting and because it's not that sort of boring stuff is really enablement that allows you to then go do the dynamic, interesting things. So and you really are focused on senior living, right?
Yeah. And I would add, one of the biggest benefits that I've seen that I believe for outsourcing is you have this trusted partner who's spending, in our case, at least, like we're investing a lot of money, a lot of energy, intellectual capital in figuring out what the right stuff is, like what's the right tools. Like, so like any individual organization could go out and do all the things that we're doing, but like, what's it going to cost them? How much time is that going to take? What's their failure rate? But like when you're outsourcing, like we're doing that for 80 clients and 18,000 employees. And so it makes sense for us to go through make those investments and do it, because then when we bring those learnings back and we can distribute it across all of our customer base, and they don't have to be the ones to go find that stuff and figure it out and worry about how do we facilitate or deploy it.
Cool. Well, listen, we're going to talk about all this stuff. You're going to talk about all this stuff in Napa in 2 days, right? I guess it starts. So I'm hoping to see all of you who are there. I know this is a little bit of a weird conference because it's an invite only, but I do expect that we will come out smarter and better, making the industry better. Brett, thank you for spending some time talking about these really important issues here. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of days.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
So you bet. Thank you very much. And with that, we will see you. Actually, we'll be back tomorrow. I want to give one extra plug. Tomorrow, we're going to, Justin Stein from Bigford is going to be on. And they're essentially fully staffed and fully occupied. And so we're going to be learning about what they've done to get to actually be doing the things that you and I have been talking about. So I'd like to invite people to come watch that tomorrow. And as we go into this conference season, love to be able to say hello as we've got all these things coming up. Thank you very much.